Okay, so this question is, what does the Philistines bringing Samson out to entertain them after he was captured means? Okay, so we got to go back and we got to take a look at the book of Judges chapter 16. Okay, Judges chapter 16 and verse number 25, because that's where that phrase is in the Bible. So, Judges chapter 16 and verse number 25. All right, now, while we are flipping over there, as I'm slowly flipping to places in the Bible tonight, obviously, while we're flipping over there, let me just kind of remind you a little bit about the person Samson. I always want to say, I always want to put a P in there, but Samson does not have a P. It's no P. Just two S's, okay? Samson. But you're going to hear me say Samson, because that's just the way that it's kind of ingrained in me. But you recall that Samson was a man that was supposed to be a Nazarene from birth. As a matter of fact, another question that we looked at several weeks ago about the angel of the Lord appeared to his mother and father and told them that this man, this boy was going to be a Nazarite from the time that he was born. And so in taking the vow of a Nazarite, a Nazarene, there were certain things that they weren't supposed to do. They weren't supposed to have any contact with somebody who was dead or dead animals. They weren't supposed to eat anything that had to do with the grape. They couldn't eat the skins. They couldn't eat the seeds, leaves, nothing like that. And they could not cut their hair under the time that they were a Nazarite. And so, Nazarene, it's been a long day. Nazarene, they couldn't cut their hair. And so, Samson was known for his long hair. He was also a man who was known for his strength. And I think back to, Sunday school days when we had the little, flannel graph pictures of Samson, and he was always this muscle guy. And maybe he was, very well built, but that wasn't the source of his strength if he was. Does anybody know what the source of his strength was? It was the Spirit of God. When the Spirit of God came upon him, that's when he had his mighty displays of strength. And it was incredible displays of strength to where the Philistines, who were the Israelites' enemies, could not defeat him. Even when they threatened the Israelites to turn him over, and Samson said, okay, as long as you guys promise that you won't kill me, you can tie me up, you can hand me over to the Philistines. And so he did that, and as soon as the Philistines started taking away, you remember they just popped the feathers loose, grabbed the jawbone of the donkey, and then started making hay with the Philistines. Okay? And so that's Samson, right? Okay. So Samson was known for hair. Samson was known for strength. What else was Samson known for? Delilah, and not just Delilah, but his weakness for the fairer sex to begin, in other places too. But specifically in this case, Delilah. And so when we come down to chapter 16, we see that Samson starts to have a little thing with this Philistine lady, Delilah. And the Philistine leaders came up to Delilah and said, hey, you know what? If you tell us what the secret to Samson's strength is, and that's another indication that, I don't think that Samson just kind of, if he was just this, really muscular, it would be, the source of his strength is his muscles. But I think he was just kind of a guy that all of a sudden had this amazing strength. And so everybody's like, how? So Philistines came up and said, if you will get the secret of Samson's strength, we're going to make you rich. We're going to give you 1,100 pieces of silver. And so Delilah went to work on him, trying to seduce Samson into telling the secret to his strength. And he said, first of all, he said, if you tie me with 7 fresh cords, 7 fresh bowstrings that have never been used, then I'm going to be as weak as any other man. She does it. She she says, the Philistines are upon you. Pop, where are they? Oh, okay. You like me, Samson. I'm very upset with you. So then, what else? Okay, well, if you'll go and if you'll, let's see, what was the second one? Somebody help me out here. Oh, new ropes. No, new ropes. I'm sorry.
I was just saying where it was, 16,000.
Okay, new ropes. If you will tie me up with 7 new ropes, I'm going to be as weak as anybody else. Doesn't work. And then, his long hair was in braids, and so, he told her, if you take my hair, this is the third time, and weave it together into, I guess, a loom and secure it and fasten it, I'm going to be as weak as anybody else. That doesn't work. And the leader's very upset with Delilah. They're about to, pull their offer, and she's like, no, just give me another chance. And so she really pours on the charm and, says, you don't love me, that kind of thing. And so then he came up and said, I'm Nazarene. And so if you shave my head, I'm going to be as weak as anybody else. And so as he was sleeping, that's exactly what she did. The Philistines came and took him captive. What we see is that starting in verse number 20, it says, then she called Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He awoke from his sleep and thought, I'll go as I did before and shake myself free. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza, binding him with bronze shackles. By the way, Philistines are different than Palestinians. I want to make that point clear because there's going to be a lot of people say, oh, Palestinians have been there, they go all the way back to the Philistines. No, they do not. Two totally separate groups of people, okay? All right. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding in the prison, but the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Now, the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate, saying, our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. Then the people saw him. They praised their God, saying, our God has delivered our enemy into our hands, the one who laid waste our land and multiplied our slain. So who are the Philistines crediting their victory for? Or to? Their God. Okay? And so now all of a sudden, God gives Samson power. Samson doesn't have any power. So who are the Philistines crediting it? To their God. Dagon is bigger and more powerful than the Lord. Okay? And this is what this feast is about. This is what this big celebration is about. It's a celebration to Dagon saying, thank you for taking care of Samson. Thank you for taking care of all of this. Now, while this big celebration was going on, now we see in verse number 25, it says, while they were high in spirits, they shouted, bring out Samson to entertain us. So they called Samson out of the prison, and he performed for them. Okay? And so, you read that and say, okay, Samson's, especially if you just read that verse, you don't understand the idea of the context, and you're thinking, oh, okay, well, Samson's come out of prison, he's going to put on a little song and dance for him, a little America's Got Talent routine, and everybody's going to, clap and cheer for him because he's entertaining them and he's performing for them. But no, that's not it. What you can do, and you don't have to be a linguistic scholar, but you can go to BibleGateway.com, and you can pull up a verse, and at the end of the verse, or after the quote, there will be a little tag there, a little link, hyperlink that says "See in all English translations." You click that, you're going to get a whole bunch of them. The majority of those translations just ignore because some of those translations just are not really all that good. Some of them may be a little bit on the weird side. There's little links by each one so that you can read about them. You can see what they are. For example, you click on one and it'll take you, for example, right here, the Amplified Bible. You can go on down and you can read a little bit more about it, all right? Okay, but it'll pull up all these different translations for you. Now, I kind of went through and I erased, several of them and kind of went over some of the ones that I think are dependable translations. But the Amplified, it says that call out for Samson that he may amuse us. So they called him out and he entertained them. ESV calls Samson that he may entertain us, and he entertained them. This is the Geneva Bible. By the way, the Geneva Bible is a Bible that's older than the King James, and it was used predominantly before the King James. It was actually one of the reasons why King James commissioned the King James Bible to be translated, okay? But he said, call Samson that he may make us pastime. And they called Samson out of the prison house, and he was a laughing stock unto them. Holman, it says, bring Samson to entertain us, and he entertained him. King James, it says, call out for Samson that he may make us sport. And he called them out of the prison house and made them sport. New American Standard, call out for Samson, he may amuse us, he entertained us. By the way, New American Standard and the Amplified, both done by Lockman Foundation, so they run quite, kind of hand in hand. NIV, we've got entertained and performed, okay? And so you see all these words here. You look it up in the Greek or the Hebrew lexicon. I did the day before last, and so I can't remember exactly what it said, but there are two different Hebrew words that are for entertain and entertain right here. And so even when you have translation that's going to be translating the same way, it's actually different Hebrew words that are there. And but they're very similar in their meaning. They both have to do with the idea about laughing, and especially laughing with the intent of derision or mocking, okay? And so when we understand that, we can understand a little bit about what they're doing as far as to bring Samson out. They're not bringing him out for Samson to actively entertain them. What they're doing is bringing Samson out so the very presence of Samson can be their entertainment. So Samson's kind of a passive entertainment. They're looking at Samson, and since they've been praising Dagon for the victory, then what do you think they're doing to Samson? They're making fun of him. They're mocking him, okay? Exactly. And he's in bronze shackles. They think that he's weak. He's been in prison, and he's been in prison now for a long enough time for his shaved head, the hair to start to grow back. Okay, I don't know how long that was, but evidently this has been quite a while now. Okay, and so here's Samson. They're thinking he's weak. They're thinking he's helpless, and they are mocking him. Okay, now if you stop and think about the travesty here. I mean, just simply, you have a human being, regardless of who the human being is, but you have a human being that is imprisoned. His eyes are gouged out. He's probably been mistreated, abused, and people are laughing over that. They are delighting and taking pleasure out of somebody else's misery, right? Now, do you see a problem with that? Do you have a problem with that? I hope you have a problem with that, because I hope that you're not as cruel and sadistic as these people were as to do that, right? Even if somebody's enemy, I mean, it doesn't mean that we have to, torture him and then actually delight and be glad and take entertainment over the torturing aspect of it, right? Okay. So what happens? Well, we see that when they stood him among the pillars, Samson said to the servant who held his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple so that I may lean against them." Ding, 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 red flag. Servant, hey, watch out. Something bad is about to happen. You got pillars that are supporting this whole structure, and Samson wants to lean on them? Okay. Well, it says, now the temple was crowded with men and women. All the rulers of the Philistines were there in the roof. There were about 3,000 men and women watching Samson perform. So this is a packed house. And Samson prayed to the Lord, "O sovereign Lord, remember me, O God. Please strengthen me just this once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my own eyes." And so Samson reached towards the central pillars on which the temple stood, bracing himself against them. He, his right hand on one and his left hand on the other. Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple and the rulers and all the people in it. Okay? All right. I think that answers the question. Anybody have anything on this before we leave off? Lindsay, you got anything? Okay.